Good morning and welcome to Council Time for Clark County, Washington. This is Wednesday, June 14, 2023. It's always good to see you on a Wednesday morning and see what is in store for the day. We have an unusual situation today in that the person who is going to present the proclamation in person is on his way via vehicle. He can tell you the story to his son's graduation, which is of utmost importance, of course, but he can log in, and if all goes well, then he will present the proclamation as planned. And then in addition, we have a couple of people who said, you know what, I'm not going to be able to be there in person after all. So they also are logged in as virtual presenters. But we are all here in heart and soul. So we start with the proclamation for Pride Month. And
Sure.
Glenn Young, Counselor Young, if you
Sure.
are present, I hear your voice. Please go ahead.
Chair, this is Counselor Young. Actually, I believe that when I initially agreed to this, it didn't occur to me that it was the same date that I'm traveling to my son's graduation up in Anacortes. So because I wasn't going to be present, I believe that Sue Marshall's going to present the proclamation this morning.
Oh, okay, that's very good. Go ahead, Counselor Marshall.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to call up Jessica Cole with PFLAG. If you could just stand up here. It's my honor to present this. You can just stand right there. It's fine. So I'll read this proclamation, and if you want to say a few words afterwards, that would be just great. So this proclamation, whereas the month of June is generally recognized as National Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, LGBTQ Pride Month to commemorate the rights and basic protections for the LGBTQ community and to actively discourage discrimination against LGBTQ individuals. And whereas Clark County supports dignity, equity, and fundamental civil and human rights for all in our community. And whereas we can demonstrate our community's values of caring, inclusion, and fairness by treating the LGBTQ community with respect and kindness through family and community inclusion. And whereas Clark County encourages vital conversations and the cultivation of a climate of belonging and acceptance of our LGBTQ friends, neighbors, and family members, whereas LGBTQ individuals are community members of various ages, races, religious and secular traditions, political parties, abilities, incomes, and vocations, and all add to our community. And whereas support for our LGBTQ youth and community members will strengthen relationships and build a culture of affirmation, celebration, and inclusion. And now, therefore, we, the Clark County Council, hereby recognize the month of June 2022 in Clark County as Pride Month. Signed this 14th day of June 2023 by all of your county councilors. So congratulations, and thank you so much for your work.
And Sue, with my apologies to you, it is, of course, June 2023. We'll make that change.
Okay. I thank you very much. This is fairly emotional for me, which surprised me a bit. So, hello, Clark County Council. My name is Jessica Cole, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm the president of PFLAG Southwest Washington. We work to create a caring, just, and affirming world for LGBTQ plus people and those who love them. Thank you so very, very, very much for issuing a Pride Proclamation for the second year in a row. stating your commitment to the rights of the LGBTQ plus community. I'm so very grateful that all of you are supporting this proclamation. LGBTQ plus people are deserving of dignity, respect, and support. Progress has been made in the fight for justice, inclusion, and equality for LGBTQ rights, but still more work must be done, especially for more vulnerable folks such as people who are transgender, people of color, low income, youth, disabled, and elderly. I'm very grateful for the LGBTQ folks who have and continue to contribute to making Clark County a great and diverse county. Whatever their contributions, every single person has inherent worth. I appreciate all the allies in schools, libraries, businesses, organizations, places of worship, and throughout the county who support folks in the LGBTQ plus community. 4 years ago this month, Nikki Kuhnhausen, who was a transgender teenage girl, was murdered in Brush Prairie because she was transgender. I know that none of us want something like that, and so it's important to be able to respect each other. I encourage all of us to continue to educate ourselves on issues relevant to the LGBTQ plus community. Diversity makes us stronger, and Clark County is a place where everyone belongs. At the beginning of June, the La Center had their Rainbow Walk, and there was a Vancouver Pride Block party, and I'll just stop a second and say, this is June 14th, but the official Pride Day is June 28th, so we're still on our way to the official Pride Day, but this is Pride Month. On June 25th, in Camas, they are having their first Pride Block party. On July 8th will be the 30th Saturday in the Park Pride celebration in Vancouver. And on July 29th will be the first in-person Battleground Pride. The 2 years prior it was online due to COVID. And there are many, many folks that I've talked to already before today who really appreciate you giving this proclamation. And I'm grateful for everyone who's showed up either in person or online for this. And I just want to say one more time, thank you so very, very much.
Sue, do you wish to add anything? Councilor Marshall?
Thank you so much for your work. We appreciate it.
And one of the things that Jessica Cole was very pleased with was that this is a unanimous proclamation of the 5 councilors. And you'll notice that all 5 signatures are present. And I got to say that, Jessica, it was a privilege to work with you last year on this, and ditto on that for this year. You are a person who is easy to work with to make things happen, and that's what we need in this community. We thank you for being here again and wish you the very best. And before we give you that proclamation in its final lovely form, we will correct that June 22 to June 2023. So best wishes and thanks again.
Chair, before we move on to the next agenda item, can we have an amendment to the agenda for you to consider?
I'm aware of that, and you may go ahead with that now if you wish.
Thank you, Chair. So 6.2, addition of a work session request for Public Works Parks Land Railroad Advisory Board for the freight rail dependent use is the agenda item.
And if there is no objection, we will go ahead and add that amendment, that addition. And hearing none, it stands as approved or as stated. Public comment with the agenda items as approved at this point. Are there any public comments?
Chair, I do not see anyone in person or online.
Very good. Old business. Minutes for June 7. Is there a motion for approval?
Motion to
Chair,
approve,
okay.
Madam Chair. Or
I
second.
would second, but
I
My
have
button, my button is slow to work here. I'm sorry. I'm not used to being remote.
And somebody, Counselor Marshall, I believe you were speaking, and I don't know what you said.
Yes, I want to make a small correction to the minutes under counselor reports. It was my report related to the mobile home parks, but I just wanted to include Counselor Young because he's very much a part of this work.
And would you please read back to us how that should be stated?
Under counselor reports, Counselor Marshall and Counselor Young. So it would just be to add and Counselor Young. And then it
Very
goes on
good.
to say had a follow-up meeting.
Very good. Thank you. Any objections?
No
It
objection.
stands then as proposed.
And I would second. I don't believe there was a second.
Actually, we were past that, but okay, not a problem. Thank you for seconding that. And is there a discussion on the motion as amended? Hearing none, and hearing no changes to those minutes in addition, they stand approved as amended. New business, 4.1, council time, July 5. There has been a proposal that council time be canceled due to the July 4 weekend. And having heard from so many counselors and members of the public as to the number of us who will be traveling, I really think that that is an important idea so that we don't miss items that we should be hearing and deliberating on together. Is there discussion on that item?
Madam Chair, you hadn't heard from me, but I serve at your pleasure. I'm okay with canceling it as long as, work doesn't overwhelm us or something emergent doesn't come up.
Right.
So I support the idea of canceling it.
Very good. Thank you. Any other comments? And hearing none, that stands approved as proposed. Counselor reports. Are there no counselor reports this morning? How about work session requests, pardon me.
So Chair, the first one we have is 6.1, the GMA climate change legislation. Oliver, do you want to speak a little bit on that work session request or? So we have an hour that's with the passage of the ESSHB 1181. We're going to add the climate change element to its comprehensive plan. So Oliver, if you want to add anything on that for council.
No. Thank you. Good morning, councillors. For the record, Oliver Jacko. We are requesting a 1-hour work session on the climate change bill that the legislature passed, and that was signed by the governor on May 4th, and the bill will become effective July 23rd, 2023. So the purpose of this work session request is to provide an overview to the council outlining what is in the bill. It's about 50-page long, so we will do our best to identify what the county needs to do to, in relation to the bill. We are mandated to include a climate change action now and resilient element in our comprehensive plan. And the way that the bill is written, we have to complete that work and make it part of the 2025 periodic update. So there is a requirement that cities with a population of over 6,000 or below 6,000 would not be required to have a climate action plan. That entails that the town of Yakult and the city of La Center would not be subject to the new bill. At some point, when their population exceeds 6,000, they will be liable to have a climate action plan. So that is our request. There is more to the bill. It touches almost every component of the of our comp plan document, in land use, in capital facilities plan, in utility element, transportation element, parks and open space. And I think the primary focus is on the requirement of the greenhouse gas emission reduction. That's really where we are going to have a significant work to be done. And some of this is going to be focusing on policies and strategies, but we will go into depth when we come before the council at the work session. So that's our request.
Questions from council? Oliver, given the rapidity with which this is approaching us, what work has been done to date to accomplish this?
Councillors, to be honest, nothing. Like I said, the bill was signed. This is like the third attempt to pass a climate action bill. The last legislature finally passed it, and as I said, it will become effective July 23rd, 2023. So nothing. What we have been doing is, in my staff, is reviewing the bill, outlining what is required, and then looking at other jurisdictions that may have already have a climate action plan, seeing what we can learn from those jurisdictions. I know that the city of Vancouver have adopted a climate action plan. I have been communicating with them. The only thing I can add is that the way that the bill is written, it requires the Department of Commerce to come out with some guidance for counties and cities. That is supposed to come out the way, again, the bill is written this year, December, to be frank, and we have reached out to staff at Commerce to provide us timing of when that will become available. They have a draft. What we picked up is that we can begin reviewing the current draft. Is not going to change significantly when they come out with their final guidance in December. They're also going to, as with other bills, councillors, this bill, there is a provision that if there is no funding, then no one needs to do anything. However, it's my understanding that the legislature, through the budgetary process, did allocate funding for this work to be done. In my communication and reach out to Commerce, they have not yet determined how that funding is going to be allocated. So that's where we are currently, councillors.
Work to be done. Thank you for that information. Are there other questions from council?
Chair.
Go ahead, Councilor Marshall.
Thank you. I just have a couple comments just to note that this is a very large scope of work on top of what is already a very large scope of work. I did look up the bill, and there is at least an 11-page summary, the final bill report, which I might send around to folks just to get started with what the scope of this entails. And I know with the city of Vancouver, they had pulled together, I think, a large advisory group, and I think they spent a good deal of time, and I would just suggest that maybe pulling together some advisory group to help with the technical aspects of this could be helpful. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
Good. Other comments?
Yes,
Okay.
Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I echo exactly what Councilor Marshall said. I think that would be a great idea to work through this together. And I just wanted to say thank you so much to staff. I can't even imagine when a bill passes like this, when we're in the middle of the comp plan, their guts probably drop and thinking, how are we going to get all this work done? So I just want to say that I'm really appreciative of all that they're doing in this enormous process that we're going through.
Thank you, Glenn. Let's move to item 5.2 to add the Railroad Advisory Board request for a work session. Comments on that?
I support the request, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Medvigi, as do I. Think we have the opportunity to take advantage of the advisory board's position for advising council on the railroad. And this is one of those ripe opportunities when we can really take advantage. Are there other comments? Do I see another thumbs up? Medvigi, Bowerman, is there another?
Well, I think it would be difficult for Glenn to put his thumbs up because he needs to keep
Yeah,
his hands on the steering wheel.
Yeah, I'm supportive of having a workshop.
Great point. Okay, thanks, Glenn, for your cooperation with the steering wheel. Policy issues, item 6.
No updates from me.
Anybody else?
I just have a question, and maybe Amber, I don't know if you're keeping up with this or not, but what stage are we in hiring our policy analysts? Are we still doing background checks, checking references? Do you have an update on the timeline?
Yes, that's, background checks are still being conducted and reference checks for that candidate, correct. So I'm hopeful, but sometimes that takes a little bit.
There questions or comments on policy? We have no executive sessions today. So amazingly, that concludes council time and we are adjourned. Have a great day.
Enjoy your graduation, Glenn.
Thank you. This has to be a record.